What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Love Wrestling. We are going to preview the G Climax 31. I am, of course, the franchise, the one and only. That way, we have Cody, and down below, we have Mel. We're here to talk all the good things that are going to happen in the G1. A block, B block, who we think is going to win, the surprises, the big matchups. It's all going to get spoken about. Cody, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. Excited to get this underway, the tournament and our show.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be real good. Mel, how are you going?
I am doing great. I am so excited to be lacking sleep for the next couple of weeks to enjoy this tournament.
That's the good thing about being in Australia. Perfect time slots for all the block action for me. So I can't complain. But as I said, we're here and we're going to talk about the G1. Just get my stuff here. It kicks off in like 5 hours, which is perfect time to get this in. It starts with A block. It starts in 5 hours. And there are some big matchups straight out of the gate. None bigger than the main event of the first night. The IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Shingo versus Ishii. That is huge.
It's going to be a heavy-hitting match for sure.
Absolutely.
That is a fantastic opening night main event for sure.
Absolutely. Now, if you don't know, all block matches have 30-minute time limits. Fair to say that one's probably going to go close to the limit. But you know what? Let them go, because they're going to just, as Big E would say, it's just big meaty men slapping meat, and I'm here for it all. Here for all of it. But
that is
there is 4 other matches as well. There's Yano versus Kenta. We know we're going to get shenanigans when Yano's around. We've got Great-O-Khan making his G1 debut against Tonga Loa, also making his G1 debut. Parrish, what's up, my friend? We got Zack Sabre Jr. versus Naito. Astrid, hello to you. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Naito. And we've also got Ibushi versus Yujiro Takahashi. That kicks us off. Cody, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on opening night A block action?
I mean, it's definitely some unique matchups there. My biggest curiosity heading into night one is which Yano are we going to get? After the performance he put in at the KOPW match at Wrestle Grand Slam against Chase Owens, that was a Yano that hasn't been seen in Japan for quite a few years, and one that I personally had never witnessed before. And if he brings Great Bash heel Yano to the G1 this year, I think we're in for some fantastic matches and none of the Yano shenanigans we've come to love.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets lost in the shuffle and has for many years. Yano can wrestle. Yes, he's lived the comedic shtick for so long that we've forgotten, but Yano can wrestle, and he did against Chase for 28 goddamn minutes. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting start, and Kenta's an interesting opponent to start him against. What say you, Mel, on night one action?
You know, something that I'm actually very interested in to see is the match between Naito and Zack Sabre Jr. Obviously, I'm a big Naito fan, but on top of that, just Zack Sabre Jr. and Naito seem to have this interesting in-ring chemistry where they can also kind of bring that level of shenanigans while still keeping the match to be relatively serious, and they almost turn it into this almost stage play where there's as much banter going on between the two of them. So being that they just came out of that feud with the Dangerous Techers versus LIJ, I'm very curious to see, who starts to get the one-ups on who, and if they'll continue that feud after the G1 is completed.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. It's yeah, it's an ultimate 50-50 start, really, for those guys. Like, it's a big match to start, and if you lose, you're behind the 8 ball from the start. Like, we know going from history, it doesn't mean a lot if you lose your first one, first two. In Sonata's case last year, I think he lost his first 4. So it doesn't, ideally mean much. But if you lose a high profile opener, it's got to be denting to the confidence, I guess.
Puts you behind the 8 ball right off the bat. I think they've played that the last couple of years with somebody who goes on the losing streak to start, loses their first 4, and then wins out the rest of the way to be in the conversation at the end, even if they don't actually quite get to the top of their group. But it's something they've done a couple of years now, so something to keep an eye on. Who's losing early and decides and could possibly go on that winning streak late.
Yeah, I agree. They do always tend to have that one Cinderella story who seems to come up and start with kind of nothing and start behind, almost like a Yoshihashi or Sonata last year, and they just suddenly skyrocket. Yeah. And I personally like it, so I'm also excited to see who that is this year.
Absolutely. And that Canada dude, yes, this is my first time meeting Mel, and she is amazing. I agree. First time she's here and she's already got fans. This is ridiculous. Come on. I'm a slave to the site, and this is, I get nothing. Mel's here 5 minutes. Look at it go. Wow. Nah, that's good stuff. Thanks for hopping in the chat. But yeah, Great O'Khan versus Tungaloa also interests myself personally greatly. It's 2 guys making their G1 debut, which doesn't happen all that often, if at all. Great O'Khan, United Empire. I don't know what to expect from him. I really don't.
They've built him so strong. I am an Empire fan. I've been an Ospreay fan for years now. That even with Cobb, who we'll get to later, the whole formation of the United Empire right now has me on board, and what they've been doing with Great O'Khan, with the feuds with Cobb and Okada and Ospreay and Okada, and just how he's been involved in those. I think we're going to see big things from him. I don't know that he'll be at the top at the end, but I mean, he's making the claim that he's going to win it his first year in. So let's see where he goes.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Mel? What are your thoughts on GOK?
You know what? With the Great O'Khan, he was actually one of my personal favorites when I did see him debut last year. I think it was against it was Will Ospreay versus Okada, where he made his kind of debut. And I remember seeing him as Oka when I had actually first started watching New Japan. So to see him go from the young lion into the Great O'Khan has actually been quite a treat to see him. And here he came back from Rev Pro undefeated to come into New Japan to suddenly be wrestling, I think it was Wrestle Kingdom 15, against Hiroshi Tanahashi for the Never Openweight Championship within a year of debuting. That's a high pedestal to put yourself on, and then come into the G1 with something like that. I think he's gonna dominate and own his name, but I suspect like you guys, he's not gonna make it all the way to the end. But I suspect he's gonna put on a heck of a show to get there.
Yeah. For me, Great O'Khan's circle of sort of life in New Japan is very similar to Jay White in a sense. We saw him as a young lion. He went away. We saw him do his thing on Excursion. We saw him come back, challenge Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. Everyone was like, why? Rah, rah, rah. Oh, the match wasn't that good. Similar to what we heard about the O'Khan stuff. And now that it's happened and we're moving past all that, everyone's saying, oh, the Great O'Khan's actually not so bad, rah, rah, rah. And, his ceiling is whatever it wants it to be. We know where Jay White's at in his wrestling life. Can Great O'Khan get to those heights? Maybe, maybe not. But that circle just resonates in a similar fashion for me. Again, same as you guys. He's not going to win, but he will play probably spoiler of the block. He's already beaten Naito before. He could beat the Ishis. They could have him beat Takagi, and then do a title feud post G1. They normally do that sort of stuff. So it's definitely, he is of super interest to me within the block. yes, this G1 is going to be fire. We're going to talk a bit about who's missing and who they've put in those people's places. But Zack Sabre Jr. winning wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Absolutely not. The guy is super talented. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but he is very, very, very good at what he does. So
I would love to see Zach win it. At least get out of the A block. He's always right on that cusp every year. He's 2 points, 4 points out, and every year he's competed so far. So seeing him actually take that next step, I think he's ready for it. But I'm not sure that this is the year it's going to happen.
If Zach was in B block, I would say his chances of making the final would be exponentially higher. But when you've got an A block that's got Shingo, Naito, Ibushi, and then you've got Ishii, which can be anything. Yeah, and Kenta as well. It's sort of it's a bit of a murderer's row A block. It really is. Just on name value alone.
Like all of the strikers were put in A block, and then they threw the one technician in there to kind of mix it up.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So yeah, from A block, if you're just catching up, we've got Shingo Takagi, Ishii, Yano, Kenta, Great-O-Khan making his debut, Tonga Loa making his debut, Zack Sabre Jr., Naito, Ibushi, and Yujiro Takahashi, who will unfortunately probably be the default 2 points, if you will, for a lot of people, but he will play spoiler a lot. He'll probably come close to beating a couple, and he might beat your Tungas or maybe a Yano or something like that. But we
didn't touch on it at all, but I mean, you've got Kenta, you've got a member of God, and then you've got a member of the House of Torture in there. So we're kind of touching on different angles of what the Bullet Club's doing in there right now too. And so those matchups of the Bullet Club versus Bullet Club are going to be interesting too.
Absolutely. And from previous G1s, when we've had Tama Tonga in there, who we'll get to when we get to B block, there's always been shenanigans there. I'm hoping against hope that we don't get interference after interference after interference, because I know we're going to get it from evil matches.
Oh yes, Toko's always lurking.
Yes, we don't need it with the Tama and the Tonga matches as well. So yes, you're right, Cody. It will be super interesting to see the dynamic in the tiers of Bullet Club within the blocks. It's just another sub story that always transpires in the G1, but it's definitely interesting. So night 2, which we move to, starts the B block, which will be main evented by Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada. One of the greatest rivalries in probably New Japan history. If it's not, it's up there, especially with the younger generation who that's all they know. What a way to kick off B block, main eventing with that. That's huge. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a match that could easily be your last night grand finale, like your winner of the bracket matchup. So
yeah, absolutely. Anything stick out for you from opening night for B block, Mel?
For B block, I'm kind of looking at what's going on here, because we have Goto versus Tai Chi also. And that's one that I'm always interested in, because Goto, he's one of those guys for me who kind of always flies under the radar, because he's so good at what he does, but he doesn't try to thrust himself into the front of everything. He's very happy to be second or third as long as he's involved. So Goto, I'm a huge fan of his, but I'm feeling like Dangerous Techers are probably gonna be a bit of an issue on both blocks. I think Tai Chi is going to probably make a run for that semifinal spot.
Well, I thought last year that Tai Chi had a very good chance in that G1, that he was on quite a roll for quite a while there, that I thought we could be seeing the breakout of Tai Chi there. That this year, that's just another year of experience with him working the entire year out there in the team with the Dangerous Techers. And the matchup against Goto on the opening night is an interesting one, since we just saw a month of summer struggle leading up to Wrestle Grand Slam, where the Techers and Goto and Yoshihashi were going back and forth the entire time, and in that match, and those teams were at each other's throats. So that's going to be a really interesting match on night 1 too. or night
Yeah,
2, I guess.
absolutely.
Night 1 at B block.
Yeah, no, what a be like. Yeah, I actually have that highlighted as like a standout match for me because last year I think Tai Chi won his first 3, and everyone was like, "Oh, hold up, what's going on here?" And then he dropped off, which we all thought he would. But for the longest time, people couldn't get past the entrance and the miming and the all that sort of stuff. But once he gets in ring, he is so talented. And people are starting to acknowledge that now. And I'm thankful that they are because in these sort of tournaments, he really shows what he's capable of. And I really enjoy watching him in the ring. And his experience over the last few months, 6 months, whatever it was, working with your Gotos and alongside Zack Sabre against your Naitos and stuff in tag matches, it's just invaluable experience. It really is.
Shout out in the chat here. We got our friend Alex, Ecto Guy, hopping in saying hello.
Alex, how are you? Hope you had a great birthday, sir.
Also got Ed in here saying yay for a new face.
Oh, another Mel fan. Come on. No, it's good. It's good. It really is. One person that really interests me from B Block is Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
A lot of people are picking him to make the final, potentially win it. Where do you guys sit with Jeff Cobb in respect to where B Block sort of stands?
I became a Jeff Cobb fan before I even got to see him in New Japan when we actually saw him here in Edmonton wrestle live.
Yeah.
That in our local small independent promotion, seeing him wrestle there and then coming into New Japan and seeing that that's where he actually is outside of here now. And seeing, like I said, I already jumped on the Empire bandwagon with that one, but what he showed against Okada at Wrestle Grand Slam was really, really a big breakout for him. That there is in the same bracket with Okada again. Now we're going to get a replay of that match later on in the brackets here. I really think this is the year that we see him really solidify himself at the top.
Yeah, I have to agree with Cody on that one. Jeff Cobb has kind of always been on my radar, but this last year especially, he's really stepped up his game in New Japan. In that before he was kind of like that kind of quiet earthquake that just kind of came in, wrecked everything and left. Now he's stepping it up and integrating stories into it. He's mocking people. The amount of times he did the Rainmaker pose while feuding with Okada, he's really, really stepped up his game. And I think that it could be a year where they start to reward him. But I personally think I could see him in the semifinals. I want to see him in the finals, but I don't want to see him win it. But I do want to see him make it to that.
He's the Aloha maker now. He's not a Rainmaker.
No, he is. Absolutely. Yeah. Ed and Astrid, he was in ROH. He was even good when he was in Lucha Underground. People forget he was there. He was tearing shit up there. And ever since he signed full time with New Japan and he put his faith in them and they've put their faith right back in him, he's been put at the forefront. As you said, the matches with Okada were amazing, both of them. He has to be in the conversation with Okada, obviously, and your Sonatas and stuff to be top of B Block. He has to be, just because he's so big and so talented. But Okada has to be your favorite.
Lost Yujiro's only 2 points last year came from Cobb, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know. I don't have last year's stuff up, but yeah, more than likely. But even, you got Evil, who's a former world champion. Yoshihashi, who's getting better. That's on opening night too. It's not a high profile match, but it's intriguing nonetheless. Evil doesn't want to start 0-1, but Yoshihashi's no pushover. So, you look at the names in A Block and you're like, oh, it's the bigger block, but there's so many intriguing matches and subplots and stuff. And the same with Sonata. Sonata started 0-4 last year. He doesn't want to drop his opening match, but Tama Tonga is no pushover. He's got G1 experience. So, yeah, definitely an interesting match. But the two highlighted matches, Tanahashi and Okada to main event, the opening for B Block, and Goto and Taichi. They're the two that stick out for me. But, it's interesting opening nights for both blocks, that's for sure. So just recapping, for B block, we have Tanahashi, Okada, Sonata, Tamatonga, Jeff Cobb, Chase Owens, who we didn't speak about, but he is being rewarded for 12 solid months working his ass off during the pandemic, and I couldn't be happier for him. Yoshihashi, Evil, Goto, and Tai Chi rounds out the block. Yeah, I can't pick a solid. I can't settle on winners for each block right now. I really can't. It's just I keep tossing it around, and
yeah, I think I'm in the same situation where I was trying to rack my brain yesterday. I'm like, who do I think could win this? Well, this person could if they beat this person, but this person could if they beat this person, and this person could if they beat this person. I finally just had to say, you know what? I'm settled on this. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm going with. And even now, I'm still not even entirely sure if that's what could happen.
Yeah. Like for me personally, I would love to see Shingo, for how good he's been this year, be rewarded and be one of only, I think, 2 or 3 world champions to win the thing and pick his own opponent for Wrestle Kingdom. Because I think there's a good story there where he would pick Ospreay, who's parading around America with the title, and Shingo's never actually beaten Ospreay in New Japan. So I think there's a story there that they could do, especially with Wrestle Kingdom being over 3 nights. You could have 2 title defenses, maybe night 1 and night 3, or night 2 and night 3, whatever they want to do. So I think that's personally what I would like to see, but you can make a case for probably half of each block to win. Cody, have you settled on what you think the final may be, who you think might win?
I think I've definitely had that same thought about Shingo taking it all and following through with the Ospreay story, especially with, Ospreay playing it up that like, oh yeah, that tournament in Japan. Yeah, I'm not going to be there. But then there's also, I know there's been the rumblings and the rumors floating around that there might now be an American G1 happening with the guys that are over here in North America right now, and have a secondary bracket run out here where somehow with the 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom coming up, that they'll play through like the 2 G1 winners facing each other or something along those lines, and the winner taking on Shingo. Or I've seen lots of different rumors and suspicions and like what it could play out on it. So it's impossible to say for sure, but if we're going off the basis that this is the only G1, then I think Shingo winning it and taking Ospreay is probably the route to go. But as far as who he faces in the final from B block, it, like you said, I could go through that B block and pick at least 5 guys that I could see getting that opportunity to be at the top.
Yeah. We even go back to, I think it was, 2015, 16 maybe. If you looked at that G1, you probably wouldn't have picked Kenny Omega versus Goto to be your final and for it to be 5-star quality match, but it was, because that's what the G1 does. It's just, if last year I picked Sonata to make the final. He went 0-4. I stuck by it because I looked at the way the matches were set up, and I looked at where Evil was, and I'm like, those 2 fight final night. That's gonna, it's gonna be the tiebreaker, so on and so forth. So as you go through, and as it goes through, you change your picks, you figure it out as you're sort of going. But sitting here now, before it's even started, I've settled on Shingo, but not with any great confidence. I give you the hot tip. The Omen fan says, love the setup, Mel.
She's just drawing in the fans here, Matt. I got to keep putting them up.
Also I'm just going to leave. Everyone finds me on my collectibles, so he better like my setup.
Everyone's just here for Mel.
Canada dude there also saying he's sad Ospreay isn't in the G1. I agree. He always delivers every time he's in a match. Doesn't matter who he's facing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic segue, actually. Now, the 4 big names that are missing from this year's that were in last year's. We got Jay White, obviously, Ospreay, Suzuki, and Juice is the other one that's missing out. Yes, they're 4 quality talents, but does the G1 diminishing any quality for who they've got in by having those 4 miss out? For me, I say yes, but no, because the G1 is always quality. and it's always entertaining. Would it be great if those guys were in there? We weren't in a pandemic. Yes, absolutely. But I don't think it loses as much quality as everyone made it out to sort of be. Where do you sort of sit on that one, Mel? Do you?
I agree with you for the most part on that one. Like, yeah, it doesn't, I don't think it diminishes anybody in there. And it actually, now that, you have Suzuki, you have Jay White in America getting attention for New Japan. Like, I don't know if you guys follow Kojima on Twitter, but he was just talking endlessly about how many fans he's personally gotten as a result of him being in Japan and just in the US, and New Japan being in the US at all. I think that this is a fantastic way to have the more or less the four strong English speakers minus Suzuki kind of blazing up in the US and gaining attention and getting the fans to be like, hey, just so you know, we have some stuff back home. And this is a great way to introduce fans to it, I think. Because this is going to be an incredible tournament with some of the best that Japan has to offer.
Yeah.
I agree.
It definitely, it feels like we're missing something by not having those guys in it. Omen fan here shouting out the real belt collector Jay White not being there. That, I mean, Switchblade is always amazing in those matches too, the same as we were talking about with Ospreay. So those two guys not being there, I think that's what's kind of fueling the speculation that there's going to be something coming for the guys who are missing out on Japan, that with New Japan Strong really kind of getting a foothold and trying to build its audience here, it would be a great way for them to draw more people in by having some of those bigger names there. Prior to the announcements at Wrestle Grand Slam Night 2, I had seen people thinking that David Finlay was going to be somebody who was actually going to get an opportunity to be in this G1. So, I mean, Juice not being there, Switchblade not being there, those are big surprises to me. Ospreay obviously made his own intentions known, but seeing the guys that they are giving the opportunities, like Tamatanga and Tangaloa, who haven't really been on TV too much right now with just the way things have went over the summer struggle and the pandemic and stuff. So seeing them get an opportunity to show what they can do apart from each other, I think is going to be really, really interesting. And we'll see what they do with these guys who are missing out and how they get to make up that opportunity to still be a part of Wrestle Kingdom when it comes around.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as I said, I'm going to miss the fact that we're not going to get Jay White and Ospreay and Suzuki destroying people. But I really love that instead of trying to drag someone over or quarantine them or do something real weird, that they've actually rewarded guys that have given everything and a New Japan to the core, like Chase Owens, the GOD guys, and now Great Khan, who's homegrown. Like those four guys replacing the four that we mentioned, are they as big names? No, but they're through and through New Japan. They're getting rewarded, and you know what? I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Just a mention there too. We hadn't really talked about it yet, but I think as far as I can see and I've heard, this G1 is running the same as what last year's was, where we're just getting the matches in one pre-tournament match on each show. So no tag team matches, no like build up in the off nights for the brackets to kind of give them that time off to rest and recuperate and keep the number of matches and the number of stars on each showdown. But it's definitely running it this way as opposed to how it was 2 years ago. It's giving that opportunity to the new young lions to really, really, get in front of a crowd and grow and build as well. And just giving, again, that homegrown talent the chance to get these opportunities that they may not have got as much in the past.
Yeah.
And how amazing are those young lions doing now? Like some of those matches, I'm like, these are just trainees. These are guys just learning. They're putting on incredible matches. Some of them better than some of the big show quality matches that we're supposed to be paying the big bucks for on TV. And these are just guys wearing black trunks, black boots with the same haircut. And if you're not paying attention, you might confuse who's who.
Yeah, absolutely. Like some of the 10-minute time limit draw openers that we've seen on some of these cards, they're some of the most enthralling matches that you're likely to see. And that's what makes an American G1 make so much sense, because there's so much going on Strong, and you can have your people that have always wanted to do the G1 as well. If you wanted to, you could have, your blacks from AEW, or if Moxley wants to do it again, you got endless possibilities. And with Wrestle Kingdom being 3 nights, there is that option. I think I tweeted or I mentioned it somewhere to someone. It would make sense if they did do an American G1 on top of a Japan one. But that remains to be seen. So, but this I'm really looking forward to this G1. Even like there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, this G1's going to suck," blah blah blah. But you know what? Just like me, those people will still watch, and I'm openly positive about the quality of matches we're going to get. But like every G1, not every match is going to be, knock it out of the park. You're going to get your ones that are going to be a bit drawn out a bit, but for the most part, G1 always knocks it out of the park.
Just you got the goofy ones, you got the highly technical ones, you've got the beat 'em up brawls, you've got the ones where they kind of draw out for time. You get a little bit of everything in the G1, and that's a nice point to put up what Jeremiah is saying here. That he's never followed the New Japan, but the way AEW is working with them, with Suzuki and Moxley killing it, that he's really enjoying. Jeremiah, I'm going to throw it out here to you right now, man. If you've never watched New Japan, right now is the time to give it a try. The G1 Climax every year is such an absolutely solid tournament with the type of wrestling. There's matches on every card that will fulfill every fan's whatever you're looking for in your wrestling. You should be able to find at least one match on every card that will do it for you. Sign up for that 1 month through njpwworld.com. Give it a try. I promise you won't be disappointed.
He's not lying. If you want to find some more Minoru Suzuki stuff, you go on there, you look up Ishii and him in the G1 last year. I was surprised Ishii came out of that, let alone that he was able to finish the tournament. Yeah, that was one of the heaviest hitting matches I've ever seen.
Moxley has killed it in the matches he's done in the G1 over there as well. Mm-hmm. You've got Switchblade, who's getting kind of that exposure. You've got Lance Archer. If you've seen him in AEW, he's had some amazing G1 matches as well. There's so much on there. The old archives and the stuff coming up this month, you'd have access to it all. But give it a try. I promise you'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah, if pro wrestling, not sports entertainment, is your thing, New Japan, 110%. As you say, Cody, if you can't find something that tickles your fancy in New Japan, whether it's proper hard-hitting, strong-style wrestling, technical, goofy stuff, it's all there. It's all amazing. And we're going to get it all in this G1 as we do every year.
I will miss Suzuki in that, though. Suzuki is always one of my favorites to see in the G1.
That's a thing too, Jeremiah. If you thought Moxley and Suzuki are killing it on national AEW television, go and find the one they had in Japan. I think it was last year. Mm-hmm. That was just 20 to 25 minutes of just sheer brutality, and it was just amazing to watch. Amazing.
I think Suzuki is the only one who I've seen really lay in those kicks without kick pads. And he doesn't care if you're ready or not. He's coming in and he's taking your head off, most likely.
Yeah. Ready or not, here I come. That's the Suzuki motto for sure. Jeremiah saw Hogan versus Inoki many years ago. Jericho's matches with Eddie Guerrero and Benoit, and a Brock Lesnar NJPW match, but not much outside of that. There is so much more to New Japan. They have a lot of homegrown Japanese talent, not necessarily homegrown in New Japan, but homegrown Japanese talent that is just top of the card, just technically sound, brawling style, whatever you're looking for, it's all there. And it's again, if you can't find something that's for you, then New Japan won't be for you.
We've got a very important question here from Aldo. Is Toru Yano your favorite this year?
Toru Yano is never my favorite any year, let alone this year. But Yano, when I first started watching New Japan, I hated him. But he was also right at the height of that screaming at everything nonsensically, like getting in between the ropes and yelling back at the person. Like that was how I was introduced to Yano. So my first thing was, this guy's an idiot. after about 2 years now of watching him, I understand his purpose. I understand why he's there and what it is that he's supposed to do for the show. So for me, Yano, he's grown on me like a rash, but he's grown on me.
Like a rash. What an analogy that is.
Yes, Jeremiah Lance Archer was pretty big in Japan while he was there. That's really where he got his character built and made himself into the Murderhawk monster that he is now in AEW.
Happy that he got rid of his little sprinkler system where he would take 8 or 9 bottles of water and just put it in his mouth and empty them all over the crowd. I'm happy that's not a thing.
I don't think that'd go down too well the last 18 months, especially. I don't think that would be allowed. But yeah,
he's not doing his little mist when he comes out. So
no. But yeah, Lance and Davey Boy, they were stunning in New Japan.
What were they? What was their team called again?
I just drew the same mental blank, Mel. I really did. But they were just brutal, absolutely brutal. Some of their matches they had were just crazy, absolutely crazy. And it's good to see Lance doing his own thing. It's really good to see Lance doing his own thing, but I do miss him working a New Japan schedule and style of match. I really do, but it is.
I think with the New Japan working with AEW though, that there's going to be a lot more chances for us to see Archer a lot more, especially if he's going to be working with his Suzuki-gun counterparts. I think that would be really, really great to start having the factions start to gain a foothold in the American kind of environment, not just the Japanese. Because we have Bullet Club over here. We know they're established. We can obviously see from Suzuki-gun that they're going to have a lot of fans. And Will Ospreay, again, he's just adding members now, hopefully. And, we need to see more of these factions kind of start getting in here. I'd like to see more Chaos get in. I'd like to see, obviously, LIJ get over here. But with 5 members in LIJ, I don't know if they really have anyone to spare right now.
Yeah. Well, you've got Andrade in AEW. He's an inaugural LIJ member. So there's a will, there's a way, and I said, will United Empire are going to add to their stronghold at some point?
Would it be the LIJA though? Would it have to be the LIJA, the Los Ingobernables de Japón America?
I don't know what they would call it.
I mean, the Los Ingobernables faction in ROH is going by what is it? LIF, Los Ingobernables faction or Facion or
something. Yeah. So it, there's options. There's plenty of options.
Now, who do you guys think is going to be Will Ospreay's mystery partner?
If it's not Robbie, I riot. As an Australian, I have to say Robbie Eagles, but it's probably not going to be.
How weird would that be, bouncing back and forth between Chaos and Bullet Club?
Well, I reckon Robbie's going to turn heel, but that's just me personally.
Possibly.
Yeah.
UA needs a junior, and what better than the actual champ? So,
I think Robbie's hanging out in Japan for right now, though. Or no, he's coming to America, right? He is coming to America for Strong.
I think he's in America potentially.
Yeah, I think he's coming here. So
he has matches on the cards coming up, I think, for the autumn attack. So, but for Ospreay, I mean, the teases that he's been putting out there on Twitter and stuff, we could see a Bronson Reed. Now, Jonah, what's his name now? Jonah Rock, I think, or something he's going by.
Yeah.
Or we could see a Buddy Matthews, both Australian. Both have had on
we're
there.
Amazing.
Both of them. He's tweeted out a comment about a monster, and he's tweeted out a comment where a buddy of his, and both Jonah and Buddy Matthews have also sent tweets back on their own Twitters, kind of teasing along with them. So,
yep.
They could be playing us.
Mass kind of treasure hunt going on.
He mentioned something about a hero, and Chris Hero said no. That was interesting too. So he's throwing out feelers everywhere. But you know what? If I had to pick, I'd say Robbie. But I don't know.
Now, my question is: there's there's been rumblings, and I could be wrong about this, but I've been hearing a lot that Marty Skrull is considering getting back into the ring. Do we think that he could be a potential option for Will Ospreay?
Potentially. Jeremiah, do yourself a favor. Do it. See them all. They're all amazing. Ospreay is one of those.
Anything with Ricochet, your mind will explode.
Yeah, his junior stuff, his heavyweight stuff, it's all good. Really,
my
really
very first exposure to Will Ospreay, Jeremiah, was his match in the G1 2 years ago with Lance Archer, where he just blew my mind 5 seconds into the match before he'd even taken his coat off. So,
yeah, well, Will's got that aura about him.
The talent
he has. He really has. I'm just looking at the cards going down. Shingo Takagi has got a really, really, really tough opening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His first 5 matches are crazy. He starts with Ishii. This is true. He starts with Ishii, then he's got Zack, and then he's got Naito, and then he's got Kenta, and then he's got Ibushi.
Yeah.
That's half his G1 done.
I mean,
over half.
That Naito and that Ibushi match are both matches that I've had circled since the card was put out, that I think both of those are going to be big matches for what happens in A Block.
Absolutely. But even the Kenta match, like that's...
Yep.
You just don't know what to expect from Kenta. You don't know how they're going to book Kenta. Kenta could be a main eventer. He could lose every match. You just don't know with sort of where they've positioned Kenta, and because he hasn't been around a whole lot, we really don't know. But there's so much to look forward to.
Is my pick for that block. I suspect
really
that he'll probably actually be Shingo's only blemish on that block.
Really,
I actually suspect that they'll probably actually give him all of it. I'm calling Kenta for the final this year. It's not my first choice, believe me. I went through hours of thought of this. But I suspect that Kenta's worked very hard. He held up that Yoshihashi feud with that stupid stick of his throughout the beginning of the year. Like, he's made feuds that work that some other of the participants didn't even seem like they really wanted to be involved in.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, Yoshihashi doesn't really have a lot of charisma to make a storyline with Kenta work. So Kenta did all of that work on his own for nearly a month. He walked around with that stupid stick. I think it's about time he gets rewarded, and I don't think he has properly been rewarded since returning from his what are we calling it, an excursion in the US.
Yeah, he went over there and then he got sick, and I think he's just coming
and came back broken, and then came back to be one of the more popular guys in the ring right now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. NJPW World it's 9.99 yen, whatever that translates to in wherever country you are.
$10.99 now in Canadian or something like that.
So I don't know. It cost me like $13.
$10 or $11.
Probably around that.
Probably worth the cost.
Probably around the same price as the network, or a little cheaper.
Yeah, I've got all 3 of them. It's NJPW World is cheaper, and its archives are just as good. Omen fan, Kenta in the final would be awesome. Yeah, a lot of people love Kenta. They really do. If you were watching his stuff in NXT, you probably think he's not so great. But if you watched his stuff prior to that in Noah, and his other stuff in Japan, and now he's back, in NJPW, he is well liked, and he is very, very good. I am shocked that you're saying, Mel, that you reckon he's going to win A Block. I nearly fell off my chair.
Wrong, right? But
the fact that you said you went hours upon hours and came up with Kenta, it blows my mind. But anyway, that's fine. That's fine. Everyone's allowed an opinion. That's totally fine.
His work as Hideo early in NXT, I thought was really, really good. It was when he got that first injury and then came back and then got injured again and then came back, that every time he came back from that injury, he just never seemed the same. And it just seemed like a steady decline for him, that when he arrived back in Japan a couple years ago, it was it was a big moment, and it really kind of showed that he lost his confidence or his comfortability in the American system, and going back home, it was just a huge boost for him to his overall morale, his character work, his ring work, everything.
Yeah, and to use like a WWE analogy, like we didn't see Edge or Christian wrestle for like 7-8 years, whatever it was. Shibata, for better or worse, probably shouldn't wrestle ever again. But if he's ever cleared to have one match, the match with him and Kenta is built, it's ready, and people want it. That just goes to show you what people think of Kenta.
Yeah. And Kenta would take care of Shibata.
Absolutely.
In that would be a fantastic match, and very well, like, people wouldn't see it, but it would be a safe match.
Absolutely.
It's just like when anybody's wrestling Hamna, you have to be so careful with him. He's like a child.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have to fondly remember, I think, was it Kenta and Archer in the G1 last year, where Archer just unloaded on him, calling him Hideo?
Yeah, I think so.
You're just Hideo.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll just wear effing Hideo.
That's typical Archer. Break all of the fourth walls.
Oh yeah.
He just doesn't care. But going back to what you were saying before, like, with Archer, now that they're leaning into the whole, factions going back and forth between Japan, America, whatever, that was the smartest thing they did on Dynamite this week. They had Archer in full Suzuki-gun, get up, shirt, track pants, the whole lot. That will do big business back in Japan, even though Suzuki's not in the G1.
Yeah.
Like, that will translate.
Yep.
I mean, I want that tracksuit, and I don't even wear tracksuits.
Everyone wants that tracksuit.
I mean, if we could break away from G1 here to discuss this, I mean, just everything they're doing with the Suzuki story right now, it's drawing eyes, it's drawing attention. It drew the ire of everybody cutting off Kazunina Ray last week, and then when they pulled it out this week and actually gave it to the people, the eruption, like, people who didn't know to expect it heard the ire of the fans who did expect it, and then knew this week and reacted even harder for it, that they got like the Judas effect from the MJF match. You got the reaction from your fans by teaching your fans who didn't know ahead of time, so that when you actually gave it to them, everybody knew how to react to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect work done by AEW. I bought into it 100%. I was one of those people just pissed. How dare you? You do not cut off Kazunina Ray. Never. But they worked me. They worked me. Kudos to them.
Oh, yeah, they did well. But even Jay White, who's not in the G1, as we said before, some of the matches he's having while he's over in America, he's wrestling, your Daniel Garcias and the like. Yeah. That's big. Like, for me, they're matches I want to see. That's intriguing, and that's big for me.
He's over there.
I don't know where you guys stand on that sort of stuff, but
he's over there. He's working behind the scenes with Chris Bay and Hikuleo right now. He's working matches with guys like Daniel Garcia. He's in the locker room with Impact for sure, and working with the guys on NJPW Strong, helping that brand grow and put another bigger name, bigger face on there. I mean, I consider him to be one of the best heel workers in the business today. And to see him going over and, as much as he's a heel on our TV, I can see from behind the scenes that he's putting in the work to be there and work with these younger guys and help them grow and develop.
That's the best thing about having...
needs all of it.
Yes, he does. But that's the best part about seeing someone like Jay come full circle from young lion to where he is now. He appreciates the fact that he probably feels the need to pay back because he was helped when he was a young lion. So he probably feels now that he has that responsibility as the older generation to do the same thing back, which I think it's a cool thing to see a talent appreciate enough to come full circle. Jay White wasn't on the scene in Impact very long. Was hoping he would have been involved more. His moment in the Impact Zone was really cool, and you could tell what a significant moment it was, whether you were or were not privy to NJPW. Absolutely, Jeremiah. As soon as Jay White's on screen, you know where he is from, you know who he is. whether he's there for 5 minutes or 5 months, it brings eyes to not only that product he's on, but the product that he was from previous. So it was just good business all round. Could they have probably had some bigger matches for him on pay-per-views and stuff? Yes, but he also has obligations to New Japan and their strong product, and he's got matches coming up there, and it's just really good stuff. But to see Jay White and Suzuki in that on the strong shows, working people like Garcia, who is only 23, just turned 23, they're the people that can get to Japan for years further down the track and work G1s. And, I reckon it's good business. It's really, really good business.
Astrid here saying she wanted to see him in Impact a bit longer too. Nothing saying that he's done for sure yet. He worked a match, a couple angles with the Good Brothers there. He worked the story with Chris Bay. I think there's a larger story to tell there with Bay and his part in the Bullet Club. So might just be kind of some patience on that and let Bay and Hikuleo do their thing and White come back around at some point.
Well, the positive about Impact,
everything they're doing with the companies right now is very strategic. He's going to be back 100%.
Well, yeah, they just think about Impact is that they tape their shows. So I think they tape like 3 or 4 episodes, maybe more in advance. So it enables Jay to come in for a set of tapings, and that way you've got him for a month, but you only had him theoretically for a day or 2. So that is why Impact was a good fit for him when he came down. So yeah, I don't think we're seeing the end of him in Impact, especially while he's carrying around that never open weight title around America. It's a very smart piece of business on New Japan's front, because that title, ever since the merging of the 2 titles, the Never title has been elevated. And along with the US title, now Tanahashi's got it. Those titles have both been elevated. And it's good business all around. It really, really is.
You've got the US title going back to Japan. You've got the Never open weight coming to America now for a little while. And just titles being able to switch back and forth between the shows is something that keeps everything intriguing, that you never know who's going to show up where at what time and what matches are going to be made for America or Japan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they even had Moxley versus Kenta. Was that the start of this year on New Japan Strong? I think it was the start of this year. They had that US title match on Strong. So
it was the end of last year, wasn't it?
Was it the end of last year? Oh, geez.
Yeah, I think it was the end of last year when because Kenta won was it the G1 or the New Japan Cup or something?
It was like an open tournament that was on Strong.
Yeah. I forget what they called it, but
it was like a New Japan Strong Cup or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, yes. Any other matches that stick out to you guys across either block of G1? Looking at it?
There's a lot, right? But
there is a lot.
The
big one that opening match with Shingo and Ishii to be comparable to Suzuki and Ishii last year. I suspect that's just going to be 2 grown men just sitting there hitting each other in the face for about 30 minutes.
Yeah. And I'm not mad about it at all.
No, me neither.
One that I think is going to possibly be underrated or unexpected that could pop up as a solid match this tournament is going to be Okan and Ishii. Great Okan versus Tomohiro Ishii. That those 2 guys, you want to talk big meaty men slapping meat. I think that's exactly what that match will be.
And 2 very different personalities in that, because you got Ishii, who's very down to business, very serious, very get in the ring, wreck stuff, and then leave. Whereas Okan is very different, as we've seen in his matches with Naito. He likes to kind of goof around, and even Yano. He likes to kind of get some kind of story going in there, whereas Ishii is kind of a no-nonsense. It'll be interesting to see how they work together with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But even, you got Naito versus Kenta at some point, renewing hostilities from when Kenta ruined his Wrestle Kingdom 14 coronation, so that still lingers. There's just Ishii and Naito will be good. Zack Sabre Kenta will be good.
Yeah, that's another one I was just about to mention is Zack and Kenta will be, when they wrestled a couple years back, I think it was a couple years back, that match they had that was just a technical masterpiece between them.
Yeah, absolutely. Ibushi and Naito always try and break each other's neck.
Oh, sorry, the one I was very interested in was Cobb and Evil.
Yep. I have that one circled as well. Sonata Evil, obviously, is a big one.
Yeah, and it's also, again, to go back to what we mentioned before, is with Bullet Club involved, how many people are hypothetically going to be at ringside. Obviously, we're seeing kind of these little fractures within Bullet Club, where we've got House of Torture with Evil and Togo and Yujiro and Sho kind of over here, and then we have like God, who's kind of on their standalone with Jado, and then it'll be interesting to see if it'll just be Dick Togo coming to Evil's aid, or if maybe Sho is going to have a little bit more of a say in some of the outcomes of what's going on.
We know Sho is going to be around, since he's wrestling those opener matches with the Young Lions every night, at least to start. So Sho is definitely going to be in the picture. We know Togo is going to be hanging around. We've got Jado and Gato hanging somewhere around with Chase Owens.
Is Gato still around, or is he didn't follow Jay White, right?
No,
Gato's still around.
Yeah. Gato, Jado. We've got Chase Owens is still in the tournament as well. That he's going to be all over the place. Who knows?
He kind of follows Fale, though, doesn't he? That's kind of usually his
a little
thing.
bit, yeah.
We have someone who kind of follows him around.
I think he's been with Jado for the last little bit through the summer struggle, wasn't he? That they were teaming together there for a while. That it was Chase and Jado in the build up to the Yano match.
Jackdo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and possibly Takahashi a little bit with him.
Yeah. I suspect with Yujiro being involved in the G1 himself, he might be a little bit more hesitant to involve himself in something that isn't, or that is not his block. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I suspect there'll be a lot of ringside chaos happening, and not in the faction kind of way.
Well, that's why I've got highlighted here Evil and Tamatonga. That's House of Torture, Bullet Club is Bullet Club. You're gonna have people everywhere, left, right, and center. What are we gonna get? What's gonna happen? Absolutely nobody knows.
How many times is Abe-san gonna get thrown from his announce table?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do we think the odds are that we actually get some Miho Abe with Taichi for this tournament?
I hope she comes out every time. She won't, but I suspect, for myself, for B Block, I suspect the semifinals is going to be Taichi versus Cobb. So for the semifinal, I would love to see Miho Abe come out, because she's just a joy. She doesn't do anything. She's just personified happiness.
The Holy Emperor is so much better when he's got his muse.
Mm-hmm. And how she runs around, whenever he throws people into staff or guardrails, and she's just trying to go fix it and sorry. It's cute. It's adorable. And I would honestly like to see New Japan work in a few more females, especially now that they're having the women start doing matches a little bit more there. I wouldn't mind seeing a few more Miho Abes pop up, maybe one in Chaos and one in United Empire again, since they fired B. Priestley.
Unceremoniously fired her, they had big backlash from that, and I never understood why.
I mean, some people don't understand the wrestling. She was a wrestling.
Well, I think it was just, I don't know, maybe
they might not have known that she was a wrestler also. I mean, if they actually saw some of her matches, they know that was the least concern of what she's had done to her, let alone what she's done to other people. Yeah.
Well, I think people just took it a step too far, and they went the domestic violence route because, they're dating and stuff like that. But it's pro wrestling.
Live television, I think they're smarter than that.
Yeah. Well, it's wrestling. It was just a way to ride her off so she could go to NXT UK. That's plain and simple all it was. But I agree with you 100%. I would love for them to incorporate the women in that, in that vein, whether it's a Miho Abe way or whether it's an actual talent in someone like Priestley moving forward. Yeah, it's untapped territory for New Japan, and it's something now in the 21st century I think they really need to explore. Absolutely. And Stardom do a really good job with their 5-star carnival. The women always knock it out of the park with what they do there. That's the G1 equivalent. And you know what? There's with forbidden doors being open, let's just open some more. Let's just let's just have it all.
that Stardom showcase at Wrestle Grand Slam really opened my eyes to what the Joshi wrestling in Japan is all about. And it was a great way to kind of bring some eyes to the females that are doing great things in Japan that don't really get that attention. And so I would love to see them do a little bit more of that, even if it is, you know, just putting them on the big pay-per-view shows and trying to get subscriptions to the Stardom product as well. That, you know, you see these matches and, hey, go subscribe to Stardom and see what's actually like the build up to this, you know, get people more interested in that, and maybe eventually leads to kind of a merge into a like
crossovers,
a cross gender program, or like company, like merging the two into one company where you actually do see men and women regularly on both shows. So
and that's really the common misconception, I think, with Joshi wrestling. Like, people in North America might only see your Rihos or your Maki Ito, who was on not too long ago, and they see the smaller statured ladies and they're like, oh, this is not for me. But then over in Stardom, you've got your Julias and all that sort of stuff, who are just badass women, and their matches are just stellar, absolutely stellar. So yeah, it really is a territory that I think they should tap into, and that way you could have your G1 and your 5-star carnivals equivalent, running, and I think it'd just be fantastic to see.
I agree.
But yeah.
I don't know if you touched on it yet, Matt. Who did you have as your final two?
So I've got Shingo from A Block, and I think they go Cobb. I really do. I think Cobb makes the finals. I think we get Takagi and Cobb again.
I think that's the way I was leaning on it, was Shingo and Cobb as well. If it's not Shingo, I think it's Ibushi, just to kind of tease the possibility of it being a third in a row.
I muted myself, sorry. I think Cobb versus Takagi is the way to go.
Yeah, I don't think Ibushi wins, but I think there's at least the possibility that he could be in that final against Cobb, just to tease that we'll get the 3.
Sounds like we're pretty unanimous with Cobb, because I suspect Cobb will be in the finals also, but I think he's going to leave it to to Kenta.
Yeah. We'll see. I think, we said B block was so hard to predict, yet we're unanimous on it.
Yeah, we're pretty unanimous about Cobb. So Cobb's a threat.
Yeah, I think we've seen Evil and Shingo enough, so I don't think Evil's going there. I don't know if we want to go Sonata Shingo quite yet. We could see Taichi there, if not Cobb. I think Okada and Tanahashi are both kind of taking a step back and letting some of the younger guys get their chance now. So
we will get another Rainmaker title reign. He's got to step back a little bit and let us forget about the Rainmaker a little bit, so that when he does come back, it'll be a poses and everything.
I really, really enjoy the kind of downfall of Okada as they've told it, that, last year during the pandemic there, he went away from the Rainmaker clothesline and started using the money clip more, and started relying too heavily on the money clip. And that's why he started losing matches, is because he was so insistent on needing to get the submission instead of actually trying for the clothesline. And now, we get to the Cobb, and Cobb beats him by using the same ripcord move that Okada would usually use for the Rainmaker. So it's been very intricate and very well done story with him, that I think when we do get it to come around and Okada actually starts using his clothesline again and finding himself, you could easily probably make him a heel in that sense too, that going back and like, this is what I needed all along to beat people, let him play a different character for once. But I think we're seeing kind of the downfall before we see him reinvent and recreate himself to make his comeback.
But that was the big crescendo at Wrestle Kingdom between him and Ospreay. He won with the Rainmaker, and everyone was like, whew, minds were blown and all that fun stuff, because that was the big crescendo to 18 months worth of simple storytelling with Okada. And that's just what he's so good at, and what he will always be known for. In-ring chemistry and storytelling are Okada's big, big things, and he's forever been good at them. So, but for me,
actually, that's a big reason why I like New Japan Pro Wrestling in general, is that they don't have to tell me what the story is. They can translate it perfectly in the ring, and anything that I'm missing, Kevin Kelly can fill me in on. So
absolutely.
I don't need to waste 30, 40, 5 minutes listening to some guy cut a promo about this, that, and the other thing when I can just watch them beat the crap out of each other.
Absolutely. And that Canada dude, thank you so much.
Thanks
Greatly
for
appreciated.
tuning in. Thanks for the support. We greatly appreciate it. We're hoping to make a little bit more NJPW content here on Love Wrestling. So love the support. Love you guys tuning in. Hunter here also. Year of DeKalb. We're all thinking the same thing there with you, Hunter.
Yeah, it's Cobb's gonna go far. yeah, it was up there. That's for sure. But yeah, for me, I've got Takagi versus Cobb as the final. I'd love to see Shingo win and be the champion that gets to pick who he faces. But so that's me. I'm going Shingo. Cody, who have you got eventually winning?
I think I definitely think that it's very possible that we could see Shingo, but I think it's going to be the year of the Cobb.
Yeah.
I'm
still sticking with Kenta, Mel?
Standing by Bullet Club.
He's still going with Kenta. Good gosh.
Still going with Kenta.
Finally got to watch him. Yes, Astrid, it is I, the one and only.
The franchise Matt over here to my whichever side he's on, that side. The franchise handing out nicknames and gives us our very own natural Astrid.
Yeah. Well,
that Canada dude here shouting out saying he thinks it's the year of ZSJ.
Oh.
You know what? It's, as I said before, it's not the worst thing in the world. ZSJ is very, very good. Do I personally think he'll win? No, but
Jeremiah here with a question.
She'll get in there.
You might, one of you guys might have an answer for Jeremiah here. I'm not entirely certain, but any NJPW tournaments he can find on YouTube?
I personally haven't looked.
No.
I personally
to answer your
haven't
question,
looked either
I
because
don't
I have
know.
a network, yeah.
But
you can find like some of the older stuff from like the 90s and stuff, like with Kenta Kobashi and people like that, Chono.
NJPW World, even if you don't have the subscription, they do occasionally put up free content from like a few months back. They'll throw up like a match of the week kind of thing. So if you just even keep your eyes on there, if you're not sure about paying for it, keep your eyes out to the free content there. It'll be older, but it'll still be matches that you haven't seen that you can see what they're all about.
Yeah. I don't think there'll be a ton of New Japan content on YouTube because they strike a lot of people that put their content on there.
The big thing on their YouTube is a lot of the promos, the English, either English translated or English promos go up on the NJPW YouTube channel that you can see kind of the backstage after the match interviews.
And that's what's underrated about New Japan as well. They're like their promo packages and VORs or whatever they call them. They are stunning, visually amazing. They do a really good job.
I thought Master Watto was going to be some kind of crazy ninjato master coming out here with all his and he comes out here with his baggy bell bottoms and blue hair.
The way of the Grandmaster.
Who everyone's forgotten about already. That's him.
He had a pretty solid match with Robbie Eagles just before Wrestle Grand Slam. I think it was a tag match, but the two of them in that tag match went pretty good.
Yeah, his last couple, like at least the last 6 months, it's been very apparent how much he's been training, how much he's been working. He's clearly been dieting and working out. His build has gone from being like, a young boy to being very like comparable to Show or Yo. He's put in a lot of training. I think he's going to have a good year, but I don't know how long it's going to be before he gets that title shot he seems to think he deserves.
Don't know, but they're doing Best of Super Juniors this year. So
the junior division out there is highly, highly underrated as well. Guys
like always is.
You've got Show and Yo are going to be separated now, who put on probably the match of the weekend, same weekend as All Out, and I still stand by the fact I think Show and Yo was the best match I watched that weekend.
Yeah,
very good grudge match. Yeah,
you've got Robbie Eagles, you've got Hiromu, we've got Master Watto in there, you've got Tiger Mask is still hanging around technically as a junior, you've got
Desperado, Kanemaru,
you've got Phantasmo, Ishimori, just so much like. We're talking G1 and all the heavyweights right now. You can't overlook the fact that junior division now is put on the back burner for the time being. But when they come back, I think usually it's the Super Junior tag shortly after, which will be just as amazing of a tournament.
And here's hoping United Empire finally has some juniors that they can throw into that mix.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's perfect time for Robbie to to turn and join United Empire, because then he could go to the best of Super Juniors and just cause all kinds of havoc as the champion.
And I think
There's nothing
Cody and
worse
I
than
have
a
actually
heel.
spoken about this before. The same thing. We thought the same thing, that he needs to be somewhere other than he is, because he's just being held back.
Yeah. Just doing a quick look, and seems like on the NJPW channel on YouTube, they have a free match
Naito
Monday.
versus
Naito versus
Takagi.
Takagi is a recent one. Yeah, that's a good recent one.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So yeah, check it out. Just search.
I'm assuming
So-
your kitty ran through there at some point, Mel.
He has been sitting on my lap for the last 30 minutes. I think his tail keeps flicking up every once in a while.
Yeah. Just got to bomb the stream.
That's it. Nothing wrong with that. My son tried before. It's fine. It's fine.
I know. Before we head out and finish off here, I know Mel kind of briefly touched on it, but we can't talk G1 without shouting out our man Kevin Kelly making the trip, going through his 14-day quarantine to make sure that he's live and on location, and we get live English commentary this year.
Best commentator in the business by
I
far.
agree.
That man gives me everything I need and then some in his commentary skills. Now, if you could just give some of that to Alex Kozlov, Strong would just be as good. I think I found someone worse than Don Callis.
Well, we're going to get Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton giving us everything, and Chris Charlton is great with his translations of anything that the Japanese wrestlers throw out in Japanese. So those two men do excellent things for the program. For English viewers who can't understand all of what's going on, they translate and tell the story to you that you can really get into it and know what's happening without having to understand a word of what the wrestlers are saying.
Mm-hmm. And I know everyone hates him, but I personally miss Gino Gambino. The Doki Choki wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Gino.
Oh man, we talked Super Juniors and we completely forgot to even mention Doki after that ridiculous match.
Oh, as soon as he hit that gate, I swore he broke his shoulder or dislocated it in some way, shape, or form. The fact that we really haven't seen him since is a little suspect to his condition. But Doki, after that match with Hiromu, he deserves a title run, and he deserves to have everything just, yes, Doki, here, just take it and go for a month. We're good.
Sorry, my computer's having a coronary.
Okay.
That's why if I don't speak or I can't hear you guys, that's why.
No worries.
It's the joys of live streaming. It's just
Jeremiah just throwing out that he remembers Kelly when he was back in WWE/F.
That was before he was doing quality work.
He has been around forever. I feel like I remember he used to be the one that would do the "Hello Canada, here's the shows coming to you" segments during commercial breaks. So
the whipping boy of the Rock from many years ago. Yes, that's he. But now he does, as you said, Mel, his knowledge and the wisdom he imparts on the viewers is just second to none. He is by far the best commentator in the biz. 100%.
That Canada dude, if it will get him away from Kenny Omega and off of AEW, I've never heard him as an announcer, but I might appreciate this.
Damn it, Andre.
Don Callis was he actually was pretty good. He actually was like especially when Omega won the title from Okada, like the ending of that when he just lost his mind was what made it for me. But I don't pine for him back on commentary on a regular basis. No, absolutely not.
I don't pine for Don Callis on my TV at all.
Cat on repeat.
Well, he wasn't called Cyrus the Virus for years for nothing, man. Come on.
I had no idea about
Jeremiah
that.
read your mind.
Yes. Jeremiah knows. There you go.
That guy.
I
think the commentary crew that they have on New Japan in Japan right now with the combination of Kevin and Chris, or Kevin, Chris, and Gino, that combination is good because you have that animosity that Gino creates. You got that typical heel face thing going with Chris. The banter that he and Chris used to have, where they would just rib each other back and forth. I missed that. I enjoyed that little jokey stuff. But I also miss Minoru Suzuki trying to kick the crap out of all of them with them at ringside, which was just endlessly hilarious. And to watch Don Callis, by the way, just take off and abandon the announce table and jump over gates was just...
He's the bolt and leave Kevin Kelly ducking for cover. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I also miss Rocky on commentary, too, though. But Rocky might be better suited to fill in for Kozlov on Strong.
Please. Anybody but Kozlov. I don't know if anyone has had the mispleasure of listening to any meet and greets that he's been in charge of, but the Jay White one was just fumble after fumble after fumble, and he couldn't actually sit still. He was like talking in the microphone like this. You could actually see him on camera doing this. I was like, what are you doing? Sit still.
Might be like a nervous twitch type thing.
Some love for Chris Charlton in the comments there.
Oh,
Chris Charlton is actually awesome. The fact that he's bilingual and translates for the English speaking audience. That's why that pair between him and Kevin works so damn well. And that's why I prefer English commentary. A lot of people like the Japanese commentary for their enthusiasm and all that sort of stuff. But for me, English commentary will forever be my number one if it's available, and it generally is. And yeah, they've done a really good job.
After watching, you can hear both.
Yeah, well, this is true. This is true.
When they get very excited and that entire stadium is quiet, you can still hear someone ringside screaming.
Yeah.
Not Milano. He's usually stoic.
And that's one thing I think Japan will be looking forward to getting back to, being able to cheer properly rather than just clapping or stamping of their feet. I think Wrestle Grand Slam was great and all, but it was just, I don't know, it was sort of a bit weird to see a big stadium so barren. And so I think they'll be pining for getting back to normal, whatever that is.
I have so much respect for the Japanese culture watching them this year, though, putting all of this in and requiring and requesting all of the fans, no verbal audio, like screaming, yelling, chanting, anything like that, clap, stomp, that's it. And the fact that they did it. If you tried to impart that in American wrestling and in American fans, not a chance. And I have so much admiration and respect for Japanese culture for their ability to do that and listen and be polite enough to, make sure they're following those restrictions.
Yeah.
And also the wrestlers trying to bank on that. People like Okada and Finlay trying to get the stomping kind of involved in the different kind of clapping and stomping combinations. Like I think wasn't Juice doing the typical "We Will Rock You" kind of thing, and then Okada was doing 3 claps and a stomp. So it definitely was a way for the wrestlers to interact in some way with the crowd.
It was very unique experience to witness.
Yeah, a lot of the heels too have gone the route of trying to get the crowd to actually break that verbiage. And
Jay White was a great example.
And they just refuse to do it. And it's just shows the respect they have for, as you say, Cody, the culture and the sport as a whole. They probably appreciate the fact that
they were even quiet in the middle of an earthquake, threat of falling down on them, and they're just like, "Yeah, we're good." Wrestling.
Japanese know how to be respectful and polite. I wish everybody was like that in America. Yeah, Jeremiah, it's not just an American thing, dude. It happens here in Australia too, but.
Oh man, I've seen Australian football and rugby and stuff, and your crowds down there can get pretty rowdy for sports.
Hey, look, just because in 2017 I went to watch my team win the Super Bowl of Australian rules football in front of 101,000 people, don't judge me, okay? Just leave me be. Leave me be. I wasn't crying and hugging random strangers that day. It wasn't I promise. It was not me. I didn't do it.
I feel like
it just happens. It just happens. Nah, but yeah, you're right. It's not just an American thing. Like everywhere around. I'm sure there are parts of Japan that are also got rude people.
They're a little rough.
Yeah, exactly. There's parts of everywhere that are the same way, but for the most part, the Japanese fans, they respect what they're watching and they respect that they're being able to go and watch it while this is going on. And the fact that they're still able to put on the G1 again this year, even though we've had the Olympics, pandemics, and still put out quality cards. I'm not complaining. I'm really not. So
No, you cannot.
I think that seems like a good place for us to maybe wrap it up now.
Yeah.
You guys maybe want to throw some final thoughts in here and plug away if you want.
No, I'm pretty sweet. You can follow me on Twitter. There. Yeah, that's 2 underscores. If you're playing at home, that's me. You can follow me there. I'm on with JPJ on Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. All things AEW, talking Dynamite and Rampage. So that's always a good time. That's just me and what I do. What about you, Cody?
Mel, do you want to throw in anything in first?
I mean, I'm not like a person or anything. I'm just a guest that Cody had on. But if you wanted to follow me, I'm usually more interactive on my Facebook page, which is going to be my name, which is right down there, Melissa Wright. But I also have my Instagram that I don't post a lot of, but I'm the most interactive on, which is at Malball_101. That's cool. Pretty much it.
I'm gonna throw us out here with a whole bunch of stuff. We got scrolling at the bottom there all of our Love Wrestling handles that you can follow us on. www.facebook.com/lovewrestlingca, Twitter @lovewrestlingca, Instagram @lovewrestlingca, youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. You can also check out our merch at lovewrestling.ca/shop. Shout out to our wonderful sponsor here at Love Wrestling, RK Athletics. They are doing wonderful things. You can follow them on all social medias at RK Athletics 1. They allow us to rely on them to help us with putting together these shows and putting together excellent wrestling content through the Love Wrestling brands for all of you viewers to come in. Really appreciate everybody who's hopped into the show here tonight. Love talking NJPW. It was great having Matt and Mel on here with us to really discuss and get into the G1. Hopefully we can get a little bit more coverage throughout the G1, some recaps, some reactions throughout whatever happens along the way. Keep an eye on all the Love Wrestling social medias. We'll post up anytime we're putting some NJPW content out. Myself, Matt, any other special guests we have that want to pop in and talk New Japan from the Love Wrestling team may be there, so keep your eyes open for it all. You can follow me at Cody Defoe on the Twitters. I will share all of my stuff on there as well. I talk about the NJPW shows when I can watch them live. I'll live tweet some Monday Night Raw, some Dynamite, all different kinds of things on wrestling. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Just a couple last comments out here.
Mel is always one of the loud, nasty fans when she's at shows. Just kidding.
And that's nasty as in rude to the heel wrestlers, not nasty in any other ways. Just gonna throw that out there.
I was gonna say, I mean, I'm not nice to the heels, so
why would you be? Happy G1 to you too, Hunter. Happy G1. Now, Mel, you've been very popular, it seems, with the fans, and
you're just gonna have to have me back, man.
That's where I'm going with this. You're gonna have to come back. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. We got to give the people what they want around here at Love Wrestling.
You're stuck with me, guys.
You're gonna have to come back. I'm sorry.
Absolutely, how it is. Love to have you back on anytime.
Absolutely.
Woo!
Absolutely.
That's it. We've got 3.5 hours till G1 Night 1 is underway. If you want to catch it, njpwworld.com. That's it for now. For the franchise Matt, for Melball Mel, I'm Cody. Have a good one.
Adios.
Peace.